Welcome to today's 5 Good Minutes. You're listening to today's inspirational message on the book of Jonah with Bjorklund.
So as we come to the end of Jonah, I want to step away from kind of the way the book ends and just go back a little bit to this phrase, this question, and should I not pity Nineveh? And then look even a little bit more again at this idea of the character of God, his gracious, merciful, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love, and relenting from disaster. Because in a way, this is really the idea that is prevalent here of who God is. What God is pointing out is his character is predisposed for the goodness of people, to say, I want your good, and I am willing to be gracious and kind and full of mercy towards you and relenting from disaster. Again, that phrasing points to the character of God. I've told this story before, but I remember years ago being in a church that was situated in the cornfield, and I was working on a talk on the grace of God, and I went out and a truck had missed a curve and gone into a ditch, and the driver of the truck, I went out and I found him. It was a semi that was taking a load of crop to where it would be processed. Was almost beside himself. He said, I've made some mistakes and my boss is going to fire me. I'm not going to have a job. I put the truck in the ditch. I can't believe I did this. And he was just going on. And I tried to assure him and talk to him and made sure he was good. And I went back in and I was, like I said, writing a talk that was largely on the mercy and the grace of God. And I remember just sitting in my little study in that little church and just saying, the truth about the grace of God is that you can go in the ditch, and 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 it is never exhausted. Sometimes what happens, especially in church context, is we like to think, well, there's a lid to the mercy. There's a place where you have exhausted the goodness and the grace of God. But perhaps the way to understand God is that his mercy, his grace is limitless. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't abuse his grace or that God doesn't have a right to be angry, but what it means is that there is this underpinning to God's character that is disposed to say, whenever anyone turns to me, there is grace. That if you'll stop clinging to the worthless idols, chapter 2, verse 9, then there is grace available. And so I just simply want to end our little consideration here on 5 good minutes of Jonah by saying God is a God of pity. God is a God of grace. God is a God of mercy. God is a God who is slow to anger. God is a God who is abounding in steadfast love. And God is a God who is willing to relent from disaster. Would it make a difference if you really believed that that's who God was? And if you brought anything that you've been holding back from God to him today? I believe that it would.
Thanks for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content to explore on Orchard Hill Plus and on the Orchard Hill main feed from the weekend. Have a great day.